وصحبه أجمعين. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كل سلامة من الناس عليه صدقة وكل يوم ما تطلع فيه الشمس تعدل بين الاثنين صدقة وتعين الرجل في دابته فتحمله عليها أو ترفع له عليها متاعه صدقة والكلمة الطيبة صدقة وبكل خطوة تمشيها إلى الصلاة صدقة وتميت الأذى عن الطريق صدقة. وعن أم كلثوم بنت عقبة بن أبي معيط رضي الله عنها قالت سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ليس الكذاب الذي يصلح بين الناس فينمي خيرا أو يقول خيرا. It has been narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, on every joint of man there is charity. On every day when the sun rises, doing justice between two men is charity, and assisting a man to ride an animal or to load his luggage on it is charity, and a good word is charity. Every step which one takes towards the masjid for salah is charity, and removing a harmful object from the road is charity as well. And it has been narrated by Kulthum bint Uqba radiallahu anha. She narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the person who lies in order to reconcile between people is not a liar when he conveys good or says something good. When we look at the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were many moments where he would reconcile between different parties. And one of the greatest examples of that was when he first came to the city of Medina, or at that time when he was migrating, it was referred to as Yathrib. During that time, the main two tribes that lived in that city were Aus and Khazraj. And it's been known historically that these two tribes have been warring for generations over a simple thing that happened with their ancestors. That little conflict resolved in this huge, intense heat between the two tribes, this huge beef that they had with them. And the Prophet ﷺ, being the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, given the gift of eloquent speech and the ability to relate to different people, he was able to reconcile between these two main warring tribes. Two tribes that people never would have thought that they would come together in hand to hand and unified together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such an example that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has set for us shows how important it is for us as Muslims when we look at our other fellow Muslim brothers and sisters who are having some sort of issue with one another, having some sort of beef. It's always important that we try to reconcile between the two of them, because that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, when he sees his servants reconciling and putting away their differences, putting away in the past and focusing on moving forward from that and learning more from each other and improving each other so that they can come close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to reconcile any sort of issues that our friends and family may have. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow those differences that we may have with one another be put off to the side, and instead the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the desire to achieve his happiness is in our hearts. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.